Hello, everyone. Welcome to Speakers Bank Podcast, Our Voices, Our Views, Seniors Edition. I am your interviewee. I am your interviewer for this episode, Maria, from the JTI podcast team. Today, I am introducing you to one of the amazing women I've known and probably already known her from our last two episodes, Jennifer Strauss of Morgan Glen Iris. Hi, Jenny. How are you?
I'm well, thank you, even in this time of plague.
That's true. Welcome to Speakers Bank once again. And first of all, I want to thank you for granting me this opportunity to interview and discuss about your retirement life. In our previous episode, we discussed about your teaching in the university and about being a poet. So, what made you decided to give up your teaching career?
I think I might have answered that question already in one of the other ones, but as I say, I went into work expecting to stop at 65, and I thought, and indeed in the academy where we were suddenly, you had had an exponential growth in PhD students, I thought we should move over. It put me at odds with the union, and I was a great union person because as well as teaching, I was very active in the academic union, but it seemed to me that one should move. And I also felt that if people are highly educated and good at their jobs, they can almost always find a way to go on using those skills after, I would call it not so much retiring from your career as retiring from the paid part of your career. And I did have another 10 years as a research fellow at Monash, and I was doing a big research project. So from 1998 to 2008, I stayed at Monash and continued sort of to take an interest in what was happening in the department and to get on with editing the collected verse of J. Mary Gilmore. But really, and I think also there is a certain amount of repetition in teaching. And although you try to refresh it, and certainly I'd had plenty of, I taught medieval literature and Australian literature and women's writing. And I think the fact that I'd had breaks from so-called academic leave had been important to keep you fresh. But, and new ideas come into teaching, and it may be time to step aside and do something else with develop your life. But certainly I did have those 10 years on top of the actual retirement from active teaching. And it eased things. I'm a great advocate, actually, of people, though I didn't actually do it, but I was trying to ease up. I think it's very good often if people can take part-time work in the last couple of years they work. In other words, get used to the idea that you're going to move on, that you're going to find other things to do. In fact, I think women cope with retirement better than men because men are so highly invested in their careers. And it's rather depressing to see how many men don't live very long after retirement because they haven't, I think, had to be as, one could say they haven't had to be as good at multitasking as men.
That would be a trivia.
But I do think that part-time work is one way of easing out of career. It's become harder for people to do because financial security has become much less than I had. and you often, for your superannuation, it depends to some extent on how many years, and also as you get more and more senior, the superannuation builds up. So it may be harder for people to take that route, but people do need to prepare themselves for retirement, and I was psychologically quite ready, I think. I mean, I've thought about it, and I'd had lots of arguments in the union with people who wanted to get rid of compulsory retirement at 65. And of course, it doesn't exist anymore. In some ways, it was a humane way of making people stop so that they didn't have to be got rid of, because sometimes the people who persist beyond that age are the very ones who should go.
So after working in the university, Jenny, that we all know that it's a busy day, especially for a lecturer like you. So how did you cope up with the change after you retired?
Well, as I've just said, I did have 10 years of sort of easing out and losing most of my appetite for any further strict academic research. I think I transferred my interest in students to an organisation which is called Graduate Women, and that operates both at national level and at state level. And at state level, I've been a member of this organisation since 1955, I think.
Wow. I never heard that yet, Jenny.
Yes. And it's concentrated particularly on women getting tertiary education. And we also in Victoria concentrate on disadvantaged students now. In other words, to get one of our awards, you have to be able to show that you've been disadvantaged in some way or other. And I think this is really a very important thing, because so many of these students are really very, very good students, but because they've had so much difficulty with health or with unhappiness or whatever, they're not getting the stellar results that will get them the big scholarships. So our scholarships can be very important, and that meant that I did continue this sort of interest in student life, and also in the national body I've been the fellowships officer, and so it's been there doing some of the assessing. But so that was one thing, and I suppose I continued certainly with the sort of political interest that I've always had. I have tried to develop my technological skills, which are still not as good as they would like them to be. But perforce, I've learnt many more things than I could do before, because at the university you always had technical staff available to do things for you. They would do them, the slides and so forth. But so I've been developing my technological skills, writing a family history, which one of my children have been nagging about it for a long time, and pushing back the records that you can find of your ancestors, which is a fascinating occupation. So I don't think that I still seem to be very busy.
Yeah, I think so. I can see that, Jenny. So knowing our situation now during the pandemic, how do you manage to keep yourself in a healthy mental state?
Well, one of the things that's a bit sad is, of course, that the pandemic is, and I do think that going into retirement, you need to be as healthy as you can.
Yeah.
That means you, and one of the sort of motivations for changing from living entirely on my own to what I'm doing now at Northern Iris was the fact that it takes quite a lot of effort to eat properly if you're living on your own. Cooking for a family may be a chore, but it's also a meaningful thing. It's quite difficult, I think. So I think you can't afford to, again, you need to plan to be healthy into your old age. But I think you're very lucky, and I think I've probably got good genes from my grandmother. But you need to be as healthy as you can, which means you need to eat well, and you need to make sure that you do sleep and you don't stay up till 2 a.m. watching the television. And you
How about
need...
some exercise, Jenny? How about some exercise?
One of the sad things in my life, in a way, and one of the things that I probably would change if I could, is that none of my family live in Melbourne. So I don't have any family that I can see from day to day. And the pandemic, in a sense, has robbed me of some of that, because the family that are in Germany, which is my youngest son, normally if they come out to Australia every second year, or else I go there. But of course, travel being stopped, which is why I should be grateful to technology, which allows me to Zoom at least.
That's true. You can still see your grandchildren growing up, even though far away, you are just in video call. You can still see them, yeah?
They're always, I mean, I can talk to them on Zoom, but I haven't had the close contact with grandchildren that some people have, which is a pity, but I do my best to keep in touch with them. And I think, as I say, if you are healthy, and you have to be sensible. I mean, unfortunately, this is, and again, one of the reasons for coming here was because of the fact that there was a gym available, because I was going to the gym, and of course the pandemic stopped those things. And that's something that I find difficult. I mean, the advantage of a gym is that it was regulated, and if you were paying your subscription, you thought, oh, I better not waste all that money. And so you would try to go 3 times a week, or at least twice a week. So I think that as far as, I mean, it's quite easy to get a bit depressed, but to be honest, for the first 6 months of this year, I was so busy actually with scholarships that I didn't have time to think much. Now I'm sort of mopping up details, and of course getting settled into a new place, which is what I've been doing now for the past couple of months. Is you need to make that exciting. You need to plan to enjoy it and not regret, as I say, not look back at the place that you left. And I loved the house that I've left, but I know it's interesting. I had to go back into the suburb and drove along the street, and there was the street in which I'd lived for 34 years. And I thought, shall I go and look at my house? I thought, no. It's gone, and going back to look at it is pointless. I mean, it doesn't belong to you anymore. I think you need to be firm about putting. When I left the house at Hawthorne, where we've been for 26 years, I've never been back to look at it.
So, Jenny, I can see that until now, you're still reading, you're still writing, and then I can see that you're driving, and then you have your plants that really, it was so beautiful. So what do you think is your secret to having a life like yours? So you had a fruitful working life for so many years, and now you're in the retirement age, but still you're helping yourself to be in a mental healthy state. So what is your secret to be like you, to be Jenny?
I think it's partly that, I think you are very best if you have the capacity to be contented. As I say, I think discontent is something that rots the soul. I mean, I'm not talking about people who have to cope with tragedy. I mean, that is, but there are people who somehow or other are never happy, but often then later on they will tell you that they were happy 10 years ago, but you remember them from 10 years ago and they weren't happy then. I think one should sort of cultivate the capacity to be contented. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think I've had a fortunate life. I think I'm lucky that I seem to be healthy. Mm-hmm. And while you can work at being as healthy as you can, you can't totally control your health. I mean, you just have to do what you can and hope for the best. But I think, as I say, the capacity to, and I've been fortunate in that I've had loving and supportive relations, and I've still got close friends. And I think friends that you've had for a long time are important to you, because I think one of the kind of, all through your life you get psychic shocks. And one of them is suddenly to realise that you are older than your parents ever were. Mm-hmm. In other words, that they died at a younger age. Yeah. But also that sense of now, probably my sister is dead, but I've never had a very close relationship with my brother, but I probably talk to him more now because I think he is one of the few people remaining who knew me as a child. Mm. And I think for a lot of people that it's a sort of sense of loss, that there's nobody around who knew you when you were a child. Yeah. Maybe the family history is inspired by that a bit. But I think, I mean, I can't, I mean, what would I complain about? I have been very fortunate. I've had a career doing something I really like doing. Mm-hmm. I have been able to earn enough money to secure me a comfortable life. I don't have to worry about money. Mm-hmm. And I think, if anything, I worry about the state of this country, because I think it has become more and more unequal. Mm-hmm. And it's terrible to me that there should be children in this country, really, that one has to sponsor a child with the Smith family so that they can get the uniform, the books, the excursions that they need. Mm. That's not, I mean, it's a myth that we have free education in this country. We don't. And it's become worse. I mean, Australia used to be a country which was in the group that had the least inequity between people's income. It's now become one of the worst. And I don't like that, and I'm prepared to try and get political. I think a continuing interest in the life of your country, your town, the local community, or just being interested in things is what's so crucial, I think. Mm-hmm. And interested in people. I mean, I am very, I mean, I'm interested always in meeting people, and I think you should not be too critical of people. You have to be able to adapt. In a way, you turn yourself into a different person at each stage of your life to some extent. But I think that capacity to be interested in things, to be able just to enjoy looking out the window as I'm looking out the window now and seeing the sun shining through the leaves because I'm up on the second floor looking out into the treetops. And I was lucky enough to be able to choose that I could live in this area. So I think the worst thing you can do is develop the sort of mindset that sees all the negative aspects of your life. I'm sure if I thought hard enough, I could think of a few. As I say, one of them is a measure of regret that my family is not in Melbourne.
Yeah.
But then I have friends in Melbourne, and well, if it were not for COVID, I would have more activities like still going to the theatre, going to concerts. But I mean, I'm deprived of those things, but then that's not the end of my life. I mean, I can still enjoy setting up the apartment as I want to set it up, and struggling to find a table for the balcony or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping, Jenny, that everyone who are listening to us, like, to be like contented on what we have. So, and everything will be like, everything that is happening to us will end. Like, there is always hope. So I can see your life was so blessed, Jenny. So you have, I'm sure that all your students was so grateful with all your advices and with all your, and until now, like, you are enlightening all people listening to us, especially me. So I'm very thankful for that, Jenny. I've learned a lot. So I have too many advices that you've shared that I really jot it down and I want to read like over and over again. So Jenny, thank you so much. As much as I
thank
would
you
like
for making my retirement nice.
No, you've been blessed because I know that because you're blessing too many people. So you are sharing your blessing to us. Your insights, your life story was really give us inspiration and motivates us to all the listeners out there. Like, I'm sure they're really thankful having you as our speaker for tonight, for today. So thank you very much, Jenny, for sharing your insights, your advices, and I'm hoping that we'll be seeing you soon in the future again. Thank you as
Yes.
well to everyone watching us. So if you have any questions or have suggestions or any topic you want us to cover, please contact us on 03-96877-066 or visit us in our website www.speakersbank.org.au. Again, this is Maria saying thank you once again. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Speakers Bank, and to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So, Jenny, would you like to share some of your social media that we can go and check on you?
Oh, well, you can find me on Twitter or on Facebook.
Oh, it's definitely
But it will
search you.
mostly be very political things.
Thank you so much for today, Jenny, and have a great day and keep safe always. Thank you.
Thank you.